my next guest this evening is my very first international guest here on the Mixtape, joining us all the way from Plovdiv, Bulgaria, and I hope I didn't butcher that too much. I'd like you all to meet George, or AKA the Bad Radio. How we doing, George?
Good, and yourself, Corey? Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. This is very exciting.
It's a pleasure.
Very first time interviewing anybody overseas while being here. This is awesome. I'm really excited about this.
It's a small world.
Yeah, it is,
It is.
More, but
This is proving it. Like we're together now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm here in Maine, you're in Bulgaria, and we're sitting here and we're going to, talk shop about what we do. So speaking of which, tell the world a little bit about Bad Radio.
Okay, the Bad Radio is a guy who was raised in the 90s. Then I knew who I was, kind of, like up until 15 or 16 years old. I wasn't really into like any genre or any band in particular, but I would mention names. I would grab something from Nirvana at the time. I was 16 or 17. I would grab Prodigy, of course. Then
absolutely.
some Metallica. Then I found the Chili Peppers. And then I knew that I was into something wild. And I was listening to ABBA really, and to Queen. They were my first rock and roll find. And then I found out that my singing is not too bad. And I was singing along to ABBA, to Queen, to anything vocally like really huge. And then I said, whoa, I'm gonna move further. And then I'm gonna put I'm gonna make a mixtape. And I did a mixtape, 2 mixtapes. And can I tell you who I was inspired by? Then it was when I did those mixing between deck A and deck B, like with short pauses, and I just get the beat, get the break, and I just put like break after break from different bands. And I was inspired by this. Do you recognize it? This is the Dirt Chamber Sessions, Volume 1 on Liam from the Prodigy. And this gave me everything, like I was starting mixing on tape, then I went digital. And then I said, when I did my first DJ gig on some crazy private party, and it just worked out. And my selection was good. And then I said, I can go on doing DJ gigs forever, but I'm going to go further and I'm going to make my own stuff. You know how that feels. You cannot just stay. You can be DJ like every time you want to be a DJ and make a good selection. But I decided to make my own stuff. And now when I look back, I know there is something from Nirvana, from Prodigy, from Fatboy Slim, from many similar artists, but I just mixed it through my vision, and then I came with my latest EP. Like it's electronic stuff, but in like rocky manner. My vocals are rocky. I feel like rock and roll singing over electronic compositions. And so far, I think it's all right.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I've gotten a lot of submissions over the last few weeks, and everybody's really stood out. And I've gotten, some different electronic artists from here in the States, a couple of people in the UK. But then you reached out to me, and I checked out your Spotify, and I listened to a track, and I listened to another track, and I listened to another track, and then I was like, oh my God, I wasn't even just sitting here and trying to think if I wanted to put it on the show or not. I was just completely lost in the music. And that's a rare occurrence these days, when you can just totally lose yourself entirely. And I happened to be driving to work at the time, and there's honestly something about breaks and sunrise
Hmm.
and it was phenomenal. And I am so excited. And just this whole thing, this communications happened in the last 24 hours for our viewers, to make this Bulgarian interview happen. And I was
Yeah.
so blown away. Your stuff is so refreshingly good. And not to just gush on the situation, I usually try to contain myself just a little bit, but
I know.
your recent stuff is really phenomenal. And you're right, you can feel that rock influence. I
Yeah.
Heavy influences like the Crystal Method, like old Dust Brothers influences on there, the Prodigy
Yeah.
screaming loud and proud on it. Your instrumentation, especially of like your real instrumentation, your guitars, your bass tone, it's phenomenal. How did you achieve some of those sounds? Did you play it all
Mhm.
yourself, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I could I don't like use samples like pretty obvious samples, you know. Like I couldn't, like, you know, Liam from the Prodigy. He's a genius at that, and Fatboy Slim. They will take a sample, they will just mash it up, and they will serve it with absolutely brand new energy, and you will be like subconsciously, oh yeah, that's, I don't know where that's coming from, but it's awesome. And I don't really do that. I try to use my DAWs and my, yeah, of course I use samples, but I try to make them as unrecognizable as possible, but just as appealing, and that they can appeal to you even subconsciously. You know, it's not. I won't pinch like a "Hey Jude" and put it somewhere. I would do that live. Really, I would do that
Yeah,
live.
live sampling is a little bit different than what you're going to throw on your album. Absolutely, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really very tempted to do something like that, but it's so easy and it will be so obvious that I don't really, it's every time that original to do
And
that.
I tend to agree with you. You know, I mean, a lot of people are doing that. I'm not knocking it, but sometimes it's nice to reach a little bit higher than just the low hanging fruit. And like, yeah, dropping Hey Jude over a breakbeat, it's been done and it's phenomenal. You know, and
Yeah,
it's, you know, it's a lot of fun. You've got that, you know, that half time to double time dichotomy
yeah, yeah,
happening. You know,
yeah.
I can totally see the appeal of mixing that. But you're right. And your music, personally, I think it goes a step further, and it definitely is reminiscent of some of the heavy classics, like we said earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well said, man. Well said.
You know, and
Yeah.
it just reeks of old school vibes for days. And I know that, you know, I think the viewers are really going to enjoy checking it out. If you're not checking it out already, as we're talking right now, the Bad Radio, check him out on Spotify. So sitting here, we're chatting with George. So you've been in the game for a while. What did you first start producing on? Because obviously you said you were doing tape mixes. You were doing tape mixes first. What did you switch over when you started to record from there? Were you using analog gear?
Oh, I had that Yamaha synthesizer and that Korg Electribe EA1, and then I did a like hybrid setup, like using Adobe Audition
Yep.
along with the Korg, along with the Yamaha, along with propeller head Reason even, and it was
Yes.
so crazy, and it was so like I can take the best of each piece, you know,
Use the
and
best of it, because Reason is
yeah.
actually, that's where I got started when I was going to school for film and audio. People needed underscore, and a buddy that was producing IDM, a good buddy of mine, Mega Angelo, it's unbelievable IDM drum and bass breaks artist, doesn't
Mhm.
follow convention normalities, and I love it. I love it. He's the one who turned me on to Reason and started just getting into writing like underscore for all these different music projects. And so for me, I got in on the production end before I even started DJing. Was doing production probably a good 8 to 10 years even before I stepped out
Prior.
to
Mhm.
DJ. So even for
Mhm.
myself, I kind of go at it from a different style. I'm very regimented, very organized, and that's just my personal way, because just the years of doing audio production, everything needed to be in its place so I can keep track of everything. So
Mhm. Mhm.
for me, I
Of
started, you
course.
know, down a different avenue before I even stepped out and, you know, touched any decks or controllers. And yet, I'll be completely honest, I am not the best on CDJs. But still, you get, it's
uh,
all at the end of the day, you're having fun, or you're not fat fingering, or you're making, is the beats good, is the music good, is everybody having a good time, everybody's safe,
mhm.
perfect. That's all I care about at the end of the day,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely agree, man.
And
Absolutely.
that's and that's the thing, is when I personally, when I DJ, I'm going to have fun. And same with making music. If I'm not having fun, then there's no reason to do
No,
it.
I wouldn't do it. No,
And it's that
never.
connection. It's like this. It's meeting like-minded people, other producers, other artists, other people that are all involved in every music scene. Because it's the community that's the best part of it.
Of
I
course.
love it. I love meeting the new people. And that's really, it's what keeps life interesting. So you've been in the game
Right.
for a while, and I'm sure you've probably had some interesting experiences along the way. Tell us a little bit about the scene there in Bulgaria, and surrounding countries. What has it been like to grow up in that area of the world in the genres that you follow?
Mm. Well, when I was growing up, like in my uh, late teens, let's say, techno was really, really popular.
Well,
And
Oakenfold was just ruling the early
oh yeah,
90s, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. And the parties here were really crazy, like really out of your mind. And DJs from, I don't know, from Eastern Europe, from Southern Europe, from near Western Europe, they were killing it. But really, techno was not my scene. Uh, not being disrespectful, because I went to many of them parties, and I
Absolutely. Same,
it
same.
was
But
amazing,
you're right.
amazing.
It's just
And
not
you
my
can
cup of tea of what I prefer at the end of the day. And
mhm, mhm. And those breakbeats, that breakbeat stuff, it was rare. Um, it was really rare. I remember going to my first ever big gig. It was Prodigy's gig in 1999, 28th of August. It was a
oh,
Tuesday.
oh,
Yeah, it was midday, and those guys just blew it. I was right in front, and I didn't care about anything else. This was so intense. So like and I said, either I'm not doing anything, or I'm just sticking to this real stuff and making my own music and try to take it to wherever it takes. And that was it for me. It was many DJs came along in the 90s in Bulgaria, but I wasn't as thrilled and as I was got blown away by the Prodigy. Really, I'm being honest. Really,
and that's completely understandable because they're not just your average electronic. I mean, they're a full band with a DJ. You had, uh,
if you
Keith,
gotta go, you gotta go, man. You
you
cannot
know,
be anywhere in the middle.
rest in peace, man. Rest in power. That
Oh,
was,
can I show you something?
yes, please.
Ah, there's the guy over there.
Oh, right there, watching over
Right there.
everything.
Yeah, and
He just loved so hard, and he brought such a presence, and then it was just this uniform front, and man, it's a hard
you,
loss, these
yeah, yeah,
that's unfortunately it's a hard road, and that's something that's comparable between metal and punk and hip hop and
yeah,
electronic,
yeah.
is that
Those guys are
there's
the bridge between like generations. Three of them, maybe. I don't know.
I completely agree. Yeah, between the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, for me, the
Hmm.
Prodigy was that launching point to step away from the normalities of radio rock and stuff like that, at the time, and realize
Hmm.
that, like, holy shit, there's something bigger, you know? And for them,
Yeah,
it was like that
yeah.
turning point in like the mid 90s with them and like Rage Against the Machine and artists like that.
Yes,
Um,
exactly,
artists
exactly.
like White Zombie, which give me my
Mm.
absolute love of sampling to this day. I
Hmm.
owe it to them.
Yeah.
And I love samples. I always
Me
use I
too.
always use movie samples. And then
Oh,
it's
do you?
I love it. I'll find
Oh,
obscure samples from TV shows and movies and just throw them in there. I've got a
let me.
massive list. I'll probably have saved more samples than I'll ever use. Although,
Yeah,
I probably could. I was thinking about setting up my launch pad just to have a little soundboard here. That'd probably be
yeah, I
pretty
was thinking that too.
fun.
Sounds like, but maybe we can do it some other time. How about just giving a live DJ set? Would
Oh,
you
that would
tolerate
be
this
awesome. We could definitely
at
plan
some
for
point in
something in the
time?
future.
Maybe.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure everybody watching after they check you out would love to see that. I would
Yeah,
totally be
yeah,
down
yeah.
for
I
that.
hope so. Talking about sampling movies, I have this one very favorite which I used in a track from The Shining. Is the intro when the camera goes up down the valley, up the road,
Yep.
and it's go like. Liam used to use this as an intro, but I really like to use this sample in my sets. It's yeah,
I
whatever.
and Stephen King movies are great for samples. They're a dime a
Mhm.
dozen in those movies, hands
Yeah.
down. Let it be from anything that the characters are saying, or even just some of the soundscaping that's happening in there.
Hmm.
And I
I,
go ahead.
um, I have a question for you. How you came about? Like, maybe you already told me at some, in some sense, how you came about producing music and what was your like the the real the real inspiration to you. You mentioned someone, sorry, earlier that gave you that uh,
Kind of
urge
push.
to produce a push. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, I think I had a good buddy. His name is Mega Angelo, Buddy Tyson. We went to college together. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you
Mhm.
some links later. He's got a bunch of
Cheers.
monikers as he's just constantly putting out different things. Bitsy Brown. I'm not even. He will just make up a new moniker throughout and just make an entirely different thing for himself. He was a huge
Mhm.
inspiration on when I started getting into things before. And for years before, I'd played in metal and punk and hardcore bands. And I'd always loved electronic music. It always been a big part of my life, going to shows and stuff like that. But he was the one that kind of showed me some things in the beginning and kind of like gave me a push in the right direction. Then I'd always
Mhm.
kind of produce here and there throughout. But it wasn't really until, let's say, about 7 years ago. One of the larger projects that I was in, we ended up parting ways, and it hit me hard. It was really, we were right on a good point of just starting the cresp, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to take some time, self evaluate, and just work on some things that I
Yeah.
want to work on. And then I'd gotten
Yeah.
Ableton, and then I started producing more and more and more, and just really
Sure.
keep continuing and honing down my sound. At first, that was, a lot of samples, a lot of what I'd consider silly tracks, shit I would never even play out. Um, and and then now getting to a much more serious tone. And really
Yeah.
starting to find my voice from my influences like the Prodigy and Nine Inch Nails and Ministry and the Crystal Method and the Dust
Oh,
Brothers, even going back to like old production value of like the Beastie Boys of Mixmaster Mike back in the day and their work with the Dust
uh-huh.
Brothers and all their tape looping and just kind of looking at things in different
Yeah.
evaluations and just how has it all influenced me over the years and putting up my particular sound. Um,
Yeah.
and I think experimentation is huge, and not just locking yourself down into one style. And that's the one thing I really
Yeah.
like about
Exactly.
you is I can hear just a massive variety. You can hear a bunch of different influences coming
Hmm.
through. You know, some of the tracks I get old school, club vibes.
Yeah.
Just little
Yeah.
like new wave elements to it, and then you
Yeah.
just come in with the
Absolutely.
breaks.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
unbelievable. So what are you using to produce?
Um, it's not a secret. I mean, I'm using Reason propeller head Reason mostly, really. For editing, I use Adobe Audition and Sonar.
Yep.
I use Pro Tools. I use. I have. Here is my CME UF50 MIDI keyboard. My corgis in the other room. I have my sound card, the Tascam. I have the Alesis M1 Active MK2, and I really like using this guy a lot because I really like record audio samples from real life, like street ambience, like some weird noises,
Yeah,
which I
not sounds
make it
which you
home. Yeah, yeah.
yes. And
Uh,
that's and artists, like Aphex Twin and Venetian Snares, like musique,
mm,
like nail that wonderfully, and you can
yeah,
feel that. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of the warmth in your tracks, that it's full body. It's very full body, which gives it much more of an organic feel. And I'm
yeah.
now realizing it's because it's all the Nat room sound and Nat sounds that you're putting into your
Yeah,
tracks. That's
that's correct. That's
awesome.
correct.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. So where do you go out? Do you go out to like different parts of like the city and stuff like that and get
Well,
different things?
well, let me tell you. Currently, I'm working on a soundtrack, like 20-minute soundtrack for a young director, which she's preparing a outdoor show, fire show with dancing and everything, and she needs the soundtrack. It's
Yeah.
based on the little matchstick girl which sells the sticks, the
Yep. Yep.
matchstick. Yep.
I'm familiar
And
with the
there are
story.
eight scenes, and I have to create the whole soundtrack with using as less speech or voices or real sounds as possible, but to use mostly instruments and sounds so I can reproduce the correct mood for the particular scene. There are eight of them,
That's
and I'm
awesome.
recording at home, really like a coin in a tin can, and whispers and really weird sounds, so I can implement them and make it as original as possible.
That's really
And
cool.
I'm in the middle of that. Yeah.
When are you doing that event?
Sorry.
When are you doing that event? When is that movie premiering?
Oh no, it won't be a movie. They will go around the country, around the world,
Oh, like a
hopefully.
live visual performance with
Yeah,
you.
they will have this
Oh, that's
soundtrack.
even better.
Yeah, they will go from place to place and play live. You know, doing their puppet stuff, their fire dancing shows with my soundtrack. They will represent it like
You've
wherever they
got to
go.
go and get a video of that so we can show everybody that,
Oh,
because that
there
sounds
will be.
phenomenal.
There will be.
Yeah,
But because
please.
of this,
That sounds great. We actually
yeah, it
we
will
have
be
a
up there. It will be up there.
we have a band, a pop punk band that we interviewed a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
the Louseketeers, that made a movie. And it's going to their new album. They have a full length movie, and we're actually going to watch it here on the
Whoa.
show when it comes
Oh,
out
man.
later in the fall. So I am all about seeing where different bands and artists progress with their art. So if you can get a
Mhm.
copy for all of us to watch here at the mixtape, that would be
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Once thing go like free and everybody is free to do whatever he wants to do, it's crazy, crazy times.
that's
Uh,
really interesting. That's a really
yeah.
unique collaboration.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, is it your first time doing something like that, collaborating with a visual artist?
No, no, not the first time. I've contributed with music and soundscapes for different flood prevention film for Bulgarian rivers. And they liked one of my tracks, and I said, okay, you can have it for your DVD. It's like a documentary on the flood prevention systems in Bulgaria. um, then I went to a few workshops in Europe for audio and video, and I was responsible for creating the soundscape for the visuals and so on and so on. And currently, I'm working with a friend of mine and a colleague. He's a teacher of mine back in the academy. He teaches me digital audio editing, and he's a great guitarist. And now I'm working on the second track with contributing with guitar work.
Oh,
and
that's
I'm
really cool.
currently working on a track which I would really like you to hear even before it goes on Spotify or wherever.
Ooh, I'd love to hear it.
And if you can air it like in July or whatever, I would like to make like a exclusive premiere of this track before it
Yeah,
gets released officially. It's really rocky.
we love exclusive premieres around here at the Mixtape.
Great, great, great.
That's awesome. So you got all these different unique collaborations, all
Yeah,
these unique mediums that you're working in. That's phenomenal. It definitely sounds like even with everything that's happening in the world, pandemic wise, it sounds like a lot of positive things that are happening right now.
yeah. Life is good. I mean, I'm grateful I'm here alive and healthy, and my friends and family. I really hope that people are like really positive. Things will be all right again. I believe that. I don't
I
have time
completely agree.
to be desperate in everything. I do what I can do for my friends, my family, my hobby, my music. Life is good, man. Life is good.
That's good to hear. So, kind of slipping back a little bit to the collaboration, you got a lot of unique things happening. And I'm always curious here on the Mixtape, like to ask any artist, if you were given the opportunity to do a collaboration with any artist that's out there, who would you just love to collaborate with artistically?
Okay, that's very easy and in the same time really
Really hard at the same time,
really
too.
hard. But
Yeah.
I'll be really quick and honest. The first thing that comes to my mind, those guys who grabbed me, they're from Skint Records, I believe. Better Lost Than Stupid.
Better
The three
lost
of
than
that
stupid?
than Stupid, and I think there was a pilot, the first track of their first album, I believe. The Sky Is Too Low. It just blew me away, and I don't know why, but I want to work with these guys. Really,
That's
there are many of them, but this is the first thing that comes to my mind,
first thing
and
that
I
comes to mind.
really, yeah,
Bad
I believe
radio,
that's it.
better lost than stupid collaboration. Anybody watching the
sounds
show might knows any contacts, just send this video that way. We can hope that one day maybe we'll be premiering that collaboration on the show.
Oh, hopefully.
That'd be phenomenal.
That would be, yeah, really.
Now, um before we part ways, you said you were working on some new music for yourself. You got a new single that you got coming out later on?
Yes, pretty soon. Like, I don't know, pretty soon. Matter of days, a few weeks maybe at the
Fantastic.
most.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Now, where can everybody find your music online?
Well, first off, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Deezer, you name it. Just type the bed radio and I will pop up for sure.
Perfect. Now, do you have any thoughts or messages before we part ways to the world?
Whew, I'm really excited that you will get to hear my music more, and I'm really excited that I can share thoughts with you. I can share my music with you and with you, Corey, and through you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Just stay safe, and I'll be hearing you around. I'll be seeing you around. Life goes on. There will be more music coming up and more meetings. I hope so, man.
Oh, absolutely. This is just the beginning. And that's generally the feeling that most people say. They're like, yo, I really want to come back. And I'm like, I would love to have you. We're a big family here on the Mixtape. And that's the whole point. We're a multi-genre
like
show where the guiding truth between all of it is just good, honest, progressive music. People with a good head on their shoulders, good heart in their chest that just wants the quality and everyone to be together again. And with everything that's happening in the world, we need that. We need that connectivity. We need that companionship. We need to be able to reach out over, well over 5,000 miles away to have this conversation, to make a new friend, So everybody that's out
natural.
there.
It feels so natural.
See?
I don't do this every day. You do, but I feel really comfortable with that. Really.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that you feel comfortable. Like I said, this is not your traditional show, like it's all about artist to artist connecting and
Yeah.
spreading a message of positivity. And then maybe, somebody can learn something about it and add to their own personal journey at the
Sure.
end of the day. And that's all we can
Sure.
ask for.
Mm.
George, go ahead.
One more thing.
Yeah, you can do
Thick
20
and
more
thin.
things.
Thick and thin. I love this track.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do. I just was on the, like a bit earlier. It's so, it's so appealing to me. Like, it's so, I left a comment over there, sleazy, smashing electro. Especially in the second half, maybe. But all in all, it's something that I said I should have produced this. Well, I really appreciate. I'm really glad you did because I love it, man. Yeah,
thank you. That was kind of my first step, and I'm like, all right, I had this breaks idea in my head, and
you're so crisp.
There's
so crisp
actually there's a remix coming out later in the year. I'm doing an album with a friend. We have an EP coming out later in the year. He is an amazing hip hop artist, Unique Unknown, and he put some unbelievable lyrics to that song.
Okay.
And then we have another handful of brand new tracks that are coming out with it.
Oh, I would love to hear it.
If you really like it, I'll send you that file if you want to mess around with it and remix it. I won't say no.
I just could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
sure. Please do.
Look at this.
Please do.
Poetry in motion here. This is the whole point of the mixtape, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is awesome. Thank you so much for saying that.
Thank you, Corey.
The song came out last year, and I'm working on a new album right now. But I felt that doing this and getting people together, it's an important place to be right now. So, George, I thank you so much for joining me today. This has been awesome. My guest tonight has been George, a.k.a. The Bad Radio, joining us all the way from Bulgaria. George, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, and you're welcome back anytime. This was a treat. You guys are all watching Punky's Mixtape. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to check out a few tracks from Bad Radio. So hold tight and enjoy.
Bye.